the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads.
We're going to start this show off with the comment of the day, as we haven't had one in a while, and it comes from Fred Bagley in regards to the Oregon video that I just done. Fred Bagley says it's not due a much amount they travel that they might get them, but where they're traveling to. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan in the winter may hurt the Pac-12 teams coming over more than the travel. I'm just saying. Could be a bit of an adjustment period. And that is the comment of the day. But to respond to that, Fred, teams like Oregon and Washington, they have to deal with pretty harsh winters themselves. Now, USC and UCLA, I might concede your point on that. Now, today's show is going to be about the NCAA versus the SEC and the Big Ten. The SEC and the Big Ten have pretty much got control of college football right now, it seems like. They have their pick of the litter whenever they want to expand. And now they're talking some major noise about possibly even breaking away from the NCAA and creating their own league. Let's talk about it. Woo! Well, here we go again. It's another episode of the Outlaw of College Football, and here they come. The Outlaw Posse is now in effect. And today's Four Horsemen shout-outs go to Dakota Green, Rob G, Tim Gillespie, and J.D. Wilmoth, who is Kuz's favorite, by the way. They're mounted up, saddled up, ready to go and help us with today's college football invasion. And if you want to get your random Four Horsemen shout-out, as well as possibly be the comment of the day, like Fred Bagley was earlier, all you got to do is hit the join button next to subscribe button. It's not but $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's a half a bottle of water for the outlaw. And you'll be deputized, and you'll be in the Outlaw Posse. Also, I can be reached on Twitter, a.k.a. X, a.k.a. the Bowels of Pluto, whatever they're going to call it, next week or next year, under at OCF Productions. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel, The Big Four, and they're free. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like the NCAA might be in some trouble. Their days of dragging their feet and not wanting to come to a middle ground is going to ultimately bite them in the ass to the point where they have no ass, and they're going to be gone. And they may be around, but they'll be governing some other lower tier version of college football and college basketball, is my opinion. I've been seeing this come for a while. I've been talking about it in the past. I didn't think it was going to fast forward as fast as it's doing now. I think the whole Florida State issues with the ACC and stuff, that sort of had a part in this, to be honest with you. People don't really see it directly, but if the Florida State can challenge that supposed ironclad grant of rights, then maybe the SEC and the Big Ten can challenge being in the NCAA altogether. I'm going to bring up an article for y'all that I saw on CBS Sports that said some interesting stuff. I'm going to try not to read it verbatim, but I will start out a little verbatim here, saying that the SEC Big Ten Advisory Group stands as a coded threat to the NCAA. Figure it out or we'll go off ourselves, says the NCAA here. Not the NCAA, but the SEC and the Big Ten. The SEC and the Big Ten delivered a coded read between the lines message to college athletics in a 259-word release on Friday, basically saying, we got this. Essentially, the two most powerful conferences on the planet told everyone else to step aside. They're going to figure out the future of college athletics themselves. They're done waiting on congressional intervention or NCAA action. Like I said, NCAA has been dragging their feet too long. They could have curbed some of this a long time ago. I've seen it talked about in numerous shows, and I've thought it myself. If they had, back before the Ed O'Bannon crap with UCLA, if they just come to a middle ground and decide to give these athletes some money, you probably wouldn't have the issues you're having today. It even goes on even further back to me, to the days of the NCAA. And that, let me stop this screen for y'all. And that in the 1980s, they only wanted to allow you to be on TV 2 or 3 times a year as a team. They wanted to control that to the point where, everybody got to be on TV, which is sort of a fair thing to do in a way for all the other teams out there trying to aspire to, get their piece of the pie, maybe win a national championship in one of the 2 big money-making sports. But the Blue Bloods just have way too much control, and they're just tired of the mid-carder teams out there riding their coattails, so to speak. But as I was saying, Oklahoma and Georgia back in the 1980s challenged the NCAA as far as having their teams on TV 2 or 3 times a year, maybe 4, with including the bowl game back then. And they won, and the NCAA lost. That should have been a signal to the NCAA right there that what you're doing is not right. You just not had anybody challenge you yet. It's just like all these companies out here that make little rules and handbooks and saying that that's the rules and that's what you go by. Sometimes their handbooks aren't the law, and people just buy into the fact that that's the handbook, and they got to aimlessly and like minions go along with whatever they say. And the NCAA got away with that for the longest time until the Ed O'Bannon stuff started percolating, and now it's got to the point where we're doing what we're doing now. Even going further back, I hate to jump around, but there was a case with a Colorado athlete. I can't remember the specifics, but the gist of it was he competed in the Olympics as a skier and got money from the Olympics, and he was a football player, and they took his scholarship away from him. Well, he fought them for years and years and years and was unable to make any headway as far as getting back his scholarship to Colorado. But I think it started showing the cracks and where the NCAA was lacking and how sorry they were and how they were treating people and athletes in general and just using them. Hate to be so blunt, but it's like they were just a bunch of, slaves to the NCAA. And I was talking to my boy Kuz over at Kuz's Corner. Check his channel out, by the way. Great conference realignment talk and whatnot. And I was telling him, look, man, I think that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to shut down the NCAA eventually. And he just basically said that he didn't think that was happening right now. And in the past, I would have probably agreed. But the way things have moved so quickly in conference realignment, this is just the final step to me and what's going to be the end of the NCAA. The whole conference realignment thing was just the tremors before the earthquake, and now I think the big earthquake's coming. And in the past, I would agree, but Texas and Oklahoma just broke away like that. You didn't even see it coming. USC and UCLA sort of saw it coming, but still, boom, they broke away. And then all these teams broke away, ended up splintered into the Big Ten and into the Big 12 from the Pac-12, which is now the Pac-2, which is probably Pac-nothing, to be honest with you. And now you have what you have with the SEC and the Big Ten making this veiled threat to the NCAA about taking matters into their own hands. So what I think is going to happen is, in the end here, we're going to have either 2 24-team leagues and 48 teams overall, or there may possibly be 32 teams in 2 leagues and have 64 teams. The 64-team model would obviously be a better model for a lot of teams out there that have been on the edge of maybe, breaking through and win a national title into the big money-making sports, like a program like Kuz's, for example. West Virginia, who's the 15th all-time winningest program in college football, and very good in basketball as well, but they never won a national championship in any big money-making sport or any other sport. What's going to have to happen for these teams is sort of like an audition to me. And I don't think it's going to happen next year or anything. Don't get me wrong. But in the next 5 to 6 years, these teams need to try to break through and do something significant, at least make the playoffs or get close to winning a national championship. Sort of like Washington did. They almost won a national championship this past year and ended up getting a Big Ten invite. It wasn't because of that, but you get my gist in this. A team like West Virginia, say they make the playoffs or possibly, make the Final Four or win a national championship in basketball, or any of these other teams that are on the cusp as well, like Utah and Central Florida, teams like that may be in contention. I got a few here that I wrote down maybe that I think would probably be in contention if the NCAA and the SEC and the Big Ten split apart. The SEC, in my opinion, will probably go cherry pick as well as the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten will try to get the two money markets in Florida, FSU and Miami, who the SEC has been lukewarm on those two for quite some time since they turned them down in the 1990s. The SEC may go after those two, but if they don't, I'd see Florida State, Miami, possibly Utah, Kansas because of basketball. You only don't have that, but there's just certain blue blood basketball programs that on their basketball alone may be enough to get them in. So, like I said, Florida State, Miami, Utah, Kansas, maybe Virginia, and then maybe a mixture of Pittsburgh, Boston College, or Syracuse going into the Big Ten. The SEC, I think, would pick from numerous teams as well. UNC, North Carolina, Clemson, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, possibly West Virginia, NC State, Duke, because of basketball once again, UCF because of the big market in Orlando, Florida, and to try to match the Big Ten for having two teams in such a very viable state in Florida. And maybe the SEC may consider trying to get a flagship team out west further, maybe in the form of Arizona State, maybe even Texas Tech if they don't want to go too far west. So that's where I see it shaking out in the future. I think we're going to microcosm down to somewhere between 48 and 64 teams. We're going to have two leagues with either 24 or 32 teams. What do you guys and gals think about all this mess? It's a lot to digest, right? Drop in the comment section, let me know. And that's all I got to say about that today. There's a little heart down here with a money dollar sign in the middle. If you want to make a one-time donation to the program, smash that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers. Also, as I said before, you can join the Outlaw Posse. It's not for $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water for the Outlaw. You'll get your badge, you'll get deputized, get your possible random full horseman shout out, as well as be the comment of the day. And then, of course, there's the big four that are all free. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Sharing is caring. And with that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.